Okay, the last page of notes for your journal today. Number 1, Leah's making beaded necklaces. For each necklace, she uses 27 spacers plus 5 beads per inch of necklace length. Write an equation to find out how many beads Lee needs for each necklace. So on A and B, it wants me to figure out what is the input variable and what is the output variable. So input will always be X, output will always be Y. So I know X is independent and Y is dependent. Sometimes it's easier to pick the dependent variable because I'll be able to say so-and-so depends on whatever this X one was. So I'm going to go up to my scenario. I'm going to find the two things that it's really talking about. We're talking about the inches of the necklace length, and we're talking about, because in the question it says how many beads, so that number of beads is also another variable. So these are like two things that are changing: the length of the necklace and how many beads that she is using. So I had to figure out which one is which. So the one that is dependent on the other would be the number of beads depends on the length of the necklace. And this will be in inches. So for my equation, I'm going to put y equals, I'm going to leave a space for slope. I'm going to go ahead and put my x variable in there. So now that I know that x is really talking about the length of the necklace, I go back up here and I find, well, what number did they pair with that? It said 5 beads per inch. Whenever they say per, they're like giving you a rate. So 5 beads for every 1 inch. So 5 will be my slope. Then I have to think about, well, was there something that it started off with? It says that she is using 27 spacers. So plus 27. So this says the total number of beads equals 5 beads per inch plus the 27 spacers. Number 2, Kate is planning a trip to the beach. She estimates her average speed to graph her expected progress on the trip. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents the situation. So for the equation, I know it's going to be y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to have to find the slope. I have a graph, so I can do rise over run. And then I know b is y-intercept, which I can see on the graph. So this one wants me to choose 2 points on the graph to find the slope, and they have gotten the formula from my formula chart for me. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So to be able to use this formula, I have to go and get 2 points from my graph. So the ones that are easy to see is going to be this one right here, and then this one down here on the x-axis. So I had to write out what this looks like as an ordered pair. From the origin, I don't go left or right, so that's 0, 300 in parentheses. For this ordered pair, if I start from the origin, I have to go right 5, but then I don't go up or down. So that is 5, 0. Before I start plugging these numbers in to this, we labeled them so that we can see where are the x's and y's and where are the 1's and 2's. So above this first one, I'm going to put x1, y1. On this one, I'm going to put x2, y2. And now you're ready to put them into the formula. On the top of the formula, it said y2 minus y1. So that's going to say 0 minus 300. On the bottom, it reads x2 minus x1. So I'm going to take this value that we labeled as x2, and I'm going to subtract x1. So on the bottom, you write 5 minus 0. Whenever I work the top, I get a negative 300. If you work the bottom, I get a 5. You have to reduce slope, and this reduces to a negative 60. So I'm going to check and see if that answer makes sense. It's a negative slope. I should know what a negative slope looks like. And this one on the graph, as I move from the left side of it to the right side, the line is going down. So it should be a negative slope. That makes sense. It says use the y-intercept it says read the y-intercept from the graph. To get the y-intercept, I only have to look at it and ask myself, where does the line cross the y-axis? And it is here. So it is crossing at 300. The goal was to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So y equals, for my slope, my m, I got a negative 60. For my y-intercept, that b that goes at the back, I got a 300. Since it was a positive 300, I'm going to put a plus. Number 3, at 59 degrees Fahrenheit, crickets chirp at a rate of 76 times per minute. And at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, they chirp 100 times per minute. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents the situation. So I have to find an input variable, which is like an x, or the independent variable. Remember, it starts with n. And then they want me to find an output variable, which is a y. Remember, y is dependent upon something that the x is doing. So I had to find two different things that are changing for this scenario. Well, I saw that the temperature changed, so that's a variable. And I see that their rate that they are chirping, it changed from 76 to 100. So the two different things that are changing will be the variables. So I have the temperature, and I have how many the times they're chirping per minute. So I had to figure out which one depends upon the other. So dependent sometimes is easier to start with. So the number of chirps will depend on the temperature. Okay, now they still want me to write that equation, remember? So slope-intercept form goes y equals mx plus b. So I know I'm going to have my y, my equals, and my x. To go find my slope, they're wanting me to subtract the y values and the x values. So I have to think about, well, where are the x's and the y's? Anytime that they give you something that goes together, like this 59 was with the 76. This 65 said they chirped 100 times. If they're giving you little sets like that, they're giving you the x and the y value. So for that first ordered pair, the temperature and the number of chirps was 59 degrees and 76 chirps per minute. So I'm going to write that out as an ordered pair. 59 went with 76. That was an x and a y value. The next ordered pair said at 65 degrees, we said temperature was x, goes with 100 chirps per minute. Okay, so now I have my ordered pairs written out. I can use this formula, but I'll label them first with a x1, y1, x2, y2. The top of the formula said to take that y2 number minus the y1 number. So you write 100 minus 76 over x2 minus x1 says 65 minus 59. Make sure you write that part out so you have good notes. If I subtract the top, I'm going to get 24. subtract the bottom, I just get 6. You have to reduce it. So 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. It tells me to substitute in y equals mx plus b to be able to find the y-intercept, because this problem did not talk about something that it starts off with. So whenever I don't have information about the y-intercept, but you did have enough information to find your slope, well, then I can plug, since this 4 was the m, I can plug that 4 in for m. I can go and get an x and a y because we wrote out x and y values. So I'm going to take this over here. In this little area where you have room, I want you to write y equals mx plus b. I believe there's one on your homework that you'll have to plug in the slope that you found. So you'll plug that in for m. You take an x and a y value. So for that first ordered pair, I had the x value of 59, so I put that right under x. I had the y value of 76, so I'm going to place it under y. I'm going to bring down the plus b. That's what I'm trying to solve. Since there's only one variable left, I can start working and I can isolate this b. I would go ahead and multiply here. So I get 76 equals 236 plus b. If I wanted to isolate this b, well, then I do not want 236 beside it. So what makes 236 go away? A minus 236. So it looks like we're going to get a negative y-intercept. This cancels. So now b is all alone. 76 minus 236 is a negative 160. So I'm going to take this b value, put it right here where they were asking me to find the b. You don't have to put anything in this first blank because we showed our work over here, so just point to it. Okay, so I found the slope, I found the m whenever we worked the two ordered pairs where we subtracted. I found the y-intercept by substituting a slope, an x, and a y, and then solving it for b. So, for the final equation, I'm going to say y equals 4x minus 160. Last one on your notes. Explain what m and b in the equation y equals mx plus b tell you about the graph of the line with that equation. You should know that m tells you the slope, which is talking about how steep the line is, and that b tells you the y-intercept. Which is where the line is crossing the y-axis.